Usually there's three kinds of music out there. Music that's objectively listenable, it may be soulless and lifeless, and then there's music that is objectively terrible. But between these lie a gray area where artists like Danny Brown, JPEG Mafia, and the Death Grips live here. People often have really strong opinions on these artists one way or another. And don't get me wrong, I love these kind of artists. In fact, I think these are some of the most interesting artists in music. But people either love it or hate it. This is where songs like East by Earl live. One of the most divisive hip-hop songs in the last 10 years. It's often memed, but then there's people who unironically like it. There's one thing you can't deny is that it's interesting. It doesn't bore you. You just may not like it. These are the artists that are changing the music industry without the average person even realizing that they are. There's been so many artists who have come and gone from the gray area, have entered in different sections, have become mainstream, and who haven't. But the artist that I think exemplifies this area the best is none other than Young Lean.
Are you Young Lean?
What?
Are you Young Lean?
No, I'm Barry Dillon.
A rapper, singer, songwriter from Sweden, famously a part of the cloud rap era and the Sad Boys rap crew, he has undoubtedly leaned heavily into the obscurity and mystery behind himself. I mean, he's worked with Frank Ocean and Travis Scott, yet isn't mainstream still. He uses a monotone voice that can be easily drowned out by his instrumental. His music videos and cover art embody styles of graphic design and videography that is normally considered amateur, but the key difference here is that it's esoteric. It's all intentional. It's not that he's incapable of using a crisp photo for his cover art or creating a super catchy melody. It's that he chooses purposely not to. Since 2012, Young Lean has curated this very specific aesthetic that can usually be picked out among a group of people who have similar ones, because he's mastered it so well. It's really hard to describe if you don't know it already, but High Snobriety said it best when they said, "The Swedish artist and a sad boy rap crew have managed to attract legions of cult followers through a bizarre aesthetic that stems from a sense of Tumblr-tinged bedroom escapism, fetishization of suburb NUI early mid-2000s pop culture, drugs, and Arizona iced tea."
Barry Dillon? Barry Dillon?
Who's that?
Are you Barry Dillon?
Who's that?
And this purposefully bad style works for Young Lean. And the best non-music comparison I can make to it is anti-design. What is anti-design? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's the intentional rejection of conventional, traditional aesthetics in favor of challenging, innovative layouts. Basically, the Life of Pablo cover was the best example of this. It has the look of someone who's on their first day of Photoshop. When you understand that it's intentionally rejecting tradition, it gives a whole new context to the art. It's a statement on what it is just as much as what it isn't. That embodies Young Lean. But why do artists even do this intentionally bad design? Like, what do they get out of it? Because it's not appealing to everyone. I mean, I'm sure they turn a lot of people away just by being what they are. He could easily fall into mainstream tropes and become wildly popular and still probably make great music. There's plenty of artists out there who still maintain their artistry and branding, yet have become wildly successful. I see Young Lean's art, as well as all anti-design artists, as a reaction to the world becoming too optimized for performance. That seemed like a stupid statement, honestly, but let me explain it real quick, and I think you'll agree with me. A lot of the music industry in its current streaming era is about squeezing every dollar they can out of the audience. Everything is being polished beyond recognition in order to turn a profit, at least at the top level. But artists like Lean are subtly rejecting this by splashing 2000s era videography, graphic design, web design that they grew up on all over their visuals. He sees this world that's becoming so far away from the actual art, he's falling back and almost like overcompensating the other way. And his cult-like fan base is stayed with him through it all. In 2017, he told Days magazine, "I guess I'm just proud that I kept working, not becoming just a viral hit." But I think there's a lot of artists that don't just sit in the gray area, but completely shift where it's at. I think we saw this most recently in the 2015 to 2018 SoundCloud era. Most of you watching remember it super fondly. SoundCloud effectively removed all the fluff of the music industry. Artists were uploading beats from their basement with random cover art and becoming overnight success. No promotion, no rollout, no marketing. EXO Tour Life by Lil Uzi was a hit song weeks before it ever hit Spotify or Apple Music, and it used a photo and name that was completely unrelated to the song, which is a sin by promotion and marketing standards. When the norm was to spend hours writing lyrics and mixing and mastering, the SoundCloud era normalized repetitive lyrics and beats with the 808s peaking on every hit, and people loved it. It was a breath of fresh air. It felt authentic. We were hearing music exactly from the artist when they wanted to share it, exactly how they wanted to share it. But most importantly, the music was raw and underproduced. Now artists like Baby Keem are exploding in success. He uses a lot of the same elements that those SoundCloud rappers did in 2015 to 2018. But even now, as I upload this video in 2022, we're still seeing flashbacks to the classic SoundCloud era of 2015 to 2018.
I took the world to Poland.
Lil Yachty's Poland was a smash hit, and it wasn't even on streaming services. It was being shared around like a firestorm, but there was absolutely no marketing involved. And in fact, it wasn't even a finished song.
Well, it leaked. It leaked. Technically, like it's not finished.
People had to go find it on their own. It was never brought to them. And the memes were made without any context. You just either knew or you didn't. But people have a strong desire to be in the know. And part of the appeal of these gray area artists is being in the know. Either you get it or you don't. And I know there's a lot of times for myself, I've listened to music and I'm like, I want to get this. I want to understand why people like it, but sometimes I can't, and sometimes you do. And it like opens up a whole new genre for you. Artists like Young Lean have encapsulated this perfectly. Young Lean doesn't make music for everyone because it's not for everyone. And he has a cult following because he stayed dedicated to this specific sound. And he brings a sound you can't get anywhere else. He represents people who have struggled with depression and presents it in a way that resonates with them like nobody else. And he'd betray that personalness of his music if he ever pursued charts. We're seeing artists like Ken Carson and Destroy Lonely blow up in the underground and start to enter into the mainstream, but Playboi Carti originally pushed into that gray area, making this whole thing possible. And artists like Young Thug before him, and they continue to shift where it's at and what's normal. Thanks for watching.